All right, welcome to another episode of Psoto Desperado Plays Ark Survival Ascended. Oops. I'm over here at my base. I'm getting my bird ready to go out again, see if I can tame some more stuff. And I'm going to play another video. I do have a kind of a religiously video. If you're not a brother or sister in the faith, it's going to be a little difficult for you. You can skip this one. It's about half an hour. It's by Sage Wanderer. Demons invaded my home. The mistakes I made. Don't do what I did. Now, I noticed that in the church, even if you used to play like Dungeons and Dragons, and if you remember like the artwork in the Dungeons and Dragons manuals, the demons and the names of those demons and things like that, some of those names in there are real. Some of that stuff painted there is designed to lure you in and can kind of keep you enthralled. Now, I'm not saying that you can't play it. I'm just saying that be aware that there is a demonic or a satanic influence in video games. Even Ark is kind of like satanic in a way. All right? We don't want to believe that and we don't want to think that, but I'm pretty sure that's the way it is, unfortunately. Let's see. Oh, I leave my... Oh, I lost that thing I had. Okay. See if I can find it. Anyway, we'll go ahead and get started. Sage Wanderer, demons invaded my home. The mistakes I made. Don't do what I did. This guy, he's an anointed man of God, and he's going to be more sensitive to that stuff than regular people who don't really care. If you don't really care, you're not going to, feel anything or acknowledge or see anything at all. So just be aware. There's a level of sensitivity required if you're going to be picking and choosing and being more specific on your lifestyle and things like that. Here we go. All
Sage
right.
Wanderer here, and welcome to the sheep pen, where no goats are allowed. So it's been a good while since I've done a sheep pen video, and it's because I experienced some trauma. That I had a spiritual warfare event take place here on my property. And this is the story of how demons infiltrated my home. But before we get started, I want to encourage you to continue to support this channel financially. This channel is funded by donations from viewers like you. I take no money from advertisers or from YouTube. There are no sponsors. The Holy Spirit sponsors this channel, and He uses your generous donations to keep me afloat here and keep the lights on in my cabin. So I want to thank you all who do support the channel, and I want to ask for your continued support. And if you've never supported the channel before financially, you can make a donation through the links in the description below. So I had an event occur here that definitely threw some water on the fire of this ministry. It was most definitely a setback. I took a hit. I took a hit from the demonic. Now, that does happen. If we always won, this wouldn't be called devil fighting. This would be called devil hunting, right? This prey fights back. So you're going to get hit anytime you declare war on the enemy. You're going to be victorious more than you're not. You're going to have some fights to the draw, and you're going to have some losses. It just happens. Now, having said that, through proper personal protection, through a proper prayer life, through support of prayer warriors like yourselves who are praying for me, I am able to engage in these battles with the enemy, and I'm more victorious than not. And even when the devil hits me, he doesn't really take me out. At best, it slows me down for a while. So this definitely occurred about a little over 3 weeks ago. Coming up on 4 weeks ago. And I took some time off from the sheep pen preaching videos. I took some time off from teaching you about spiritual warfare so that I could properly analyze how it occurred, what mistakes I made, because anytime you fail, God never fails you. Anytime you fail, it's because you missed something. You made some kind of mistake. Most mistakes that are made in spiritual warfare are human-based errors. And this is definitely one of those situations where I made a mistake I have learned from my mistake. I've properly analyzed it. Now I'm going to share with you the mistake I made so that none of you will ever make this mistake when battling the demonic. So, most of you do not really understand or know what it is I do on this channel. You like to be invited to breakfast, but you don't necessarily want to know how the sausage is made. And so, but I am going to reveal a little bit about my process and how I create these sermons and videos for this channel. And it goes back to the beginning of my ministry. When I first started preaching, I encountered a phenomenon. I think all young preachers eventually want to get to the point where they can be virtually note-free, where they can just sit up here and speak from the heart, can speak with authority without the need for a script or a teleprompter or even notes. And there's no doubt that in the beginning I strove to do that. And I have finally achieved a note-free delivery now. We're not talking about the nuts and bolts of how to build a sermon. What we're talking about is the craft of delivering one. And it's a learning process, right? And you may not realize this, but I'm probably, maybe the only YouTuber and one of very few preachers who will sit here on camera and issue you a live, teleprompter-free, note-free, unscripted sermon directly from my mind to yours. And most people utilize editing. Most people heavily edit their videos. Most preachers practice their sermons, use either notes or even teleprompters or a computer or a phone or something on the platform to keep them on track. But I have perfected the craft of delivering a sermon to the point where I no longer need those crutches. And you need to understand why I made that decision. It isn't just for the beauty of the craft. It isn't just to be better at what I do. That when I was an early minister, I figured out a demonic plot that is used against anyone who is trying to share truth with another person in a spiritual setting. And it comes from a story that I heard an old preacher tell, that back in the 50s when he first started preaching, that he would be aware of a situation in his church that needed to be addressed, and he would work all week on his sermon, and he would get all of his ducks in a row, and he would sit at a desk surrounded by books and open Bibles and commentaries and dictionaries and foreign language dictionaries and all of this accoutrement, right? And then he would carefully script a sermon just to address the situation at hand, only to get to that Sunday to deliver the sermon, and the people that needed to hear it most were mysteriously not there. And other times they'd be there week in, week out, but the week he wanted to preach at them, they weren't there. And back in the late 50s, he went to an old gray-haired preacher and complained about this. And the preacher told him, well, you're telegraphing your moves. You're telling the devil what you're going to do. All your preparation, all your notes, all your study, you've got demons standing over your shoulder reporting right back to the devil on your every move, and he's waiting for you around every turn to stop you. Stop making notes. When you study, be secretive about it. Don't write down your sermons. Don't script them. Don't make notes. And so this is the method that I have eventually grown into, to where I work 60 to 80 hours a week, but if you watched me, you wouldn't know it, because it's all happening internally. My study process, my writing process, my notes process is all happening internally, and I memorize these sermons ahead of time and deliver them to you uninterrupted, script-free, and teleprompter free, and free of any editing. So these are one-take sermons. Because I learned a long time ago, you never want to give the devil any intel about what you're doing. You don't talk to other people about it. You don't let the devil know where the punch is coming from until it's flying through the air right at his old dirty nose. So I have been very careful about not telegraphing my moves, not discussing my strategy that I use to fight devils, except in an abstract way. So this brings us back to the mistake that I made. This mistake, I will admit, comes from a position of pride. I made a pride-based mistake, and it cost me dearly. You see, I've had this young family that's been under my care for a couple of years and had been living in my house for more than a year. And I have become the grandfather figure to their little children, to their babies. 2-year-old little man was so dear and so close to me over the last couple of years. I can't explain to you the bond. It's just, I loved him like one of my own children. And he has an aunt who's blood related, the sister of his mother. This aunt would come to visit us, and this aunt is a self-proclaimed witch, an open witch. And I didn't feel like I could ban her off the property. She's blood. They wanted to have this person come and visit. So over the last couple of years, she would come and visit, spend the night, spend the weekend. One time she spent a whole week here. And I had a method for combating that influence, because when there's number one rule of devil fighting is never invite a known witch into your house. There's ancient tales that go back to even early biblical days, to where these purveyors of evil, these romancers of the devil, these cohorts with demons, can't really get the whammy on you and can't come into your house unless you invite them in. But when you invite them in, that gives them certain rights. When they come into your house, they bring with them all of their demons. And I knew better than to allow a open practicing witch into my home. Here's where the pride came in, though. I know the power that God has bestowed upon me. I know the strength that I have as an exorcist. I know that when I command demons, they have to yield in Jesus' name. It's just the spiritual law. You know, I came into a strange church one time, just me and my family. Nobody knew us there. We were traveling from out of town. We came in to just enjoy a church service with them. I came in, I sat down, and the pastor of this church couldn't take his eyes off us the minute we walked in. And I believe this happened at the end of the service. At the end of the service, he makes a beeline straight towards us. And he sticks his hand out and he said, "Boy, I don't know who you are, but you're somebody." And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" And I thought maybe I looked like a preacher. He said, "I don't know who you are, but when you showed up here, a whole army of angels followed you in. And there's one of them that is so big, he's the biggest angel I have ever seen, that he had to get down on his hands and knees to crawl through the door, and he's right over there next to you, and he's hunched over in the middle and bowed over because he's too big to stand up in this church, and I got 16-foot vaulted ceilings in here." He said, "Boy, I don't know who you are, but you brought some powerful friends." And I know this through multiple sources to be true, that upon obtaining apostolic succession, getting trained as an exorcist, that a host of angels, warring angels, were assigned to me to protect me and to execute God's orders on behalf of me in my ministry. So with that comes a certain amount of confidence, which in this case crossed the line into pride, that I believed that I could let this witch come into my house and contain her. And for over a year, year and a half, maybe 2 years nearly, I had been doing exactly that. And I made a second mistake. Mistake number one, I thought I could, that the rules of exorcism and witch fighting and devil fighting didn't apply to me, and I could invite a witch in my house and contain her. Right? That was pride. I should never have opened myself up for that. I should have found some other way to deal with it. But I felt obligated to let her be in my house because of the blood relation to little man, that I couldn't deny them family. I didn't have anything to base it on, right? I can't just say, "Well, I don't like your sister's religious ideas." And so I took this risk, and I got away with it for a very long time. Then I made mistake number two, which goes back to what I was talking about at the beginning of this sermon, about how you do not let the devil know what it is you're doing or how you're doing it. Like, you keep it mum, keep it between you and God. It's a matter of you and the Holy Spirit. Some of these things have to be kept absolutely quiet. The Bible says, "A wise man concealeth a matter, So I had concealed the method that I was using to corral this witch and drain her of her power while she was here. And in fact, I was slowly breaking her down over time, and I intended to convert her. And if you want to laugh at that, go right ahead. But I think I might be the most prolific converter of witches in modern times. That I have converted so many witches I've lost track. And many of the viewers that are watching this right now formerly dabbled in or were actively involved in various forms of the occult and witchcraft. And even some Satanists have been converted through this channel. I've read their letters and they've told me their stories. And so this was my intention. And then it was either last sermon I did 3 or 4 weeks ago, or the sermon before that. It was either fighting demons, was strategic defense and demons, or the other one about dangerous shadows. And I may have mentioned this witch in both of those videos, if memory serves. But in one of those videos, I totally gave away the method I was using to keep this witch contained. And I wanted to share with you how you would deal with such a situation in one of my sermons. And I told all of you how I was doing it. And unfortunately, the demons were listening. And they found a counterattack method of getting around it. So what was I doing? As I told you in a previous video, when this woman would come to stay at my house, I would continuously pray, and I would continuously charge angels to surround this person and contain them, and keep their demons contained in that circle. And it was this knowledge of how I was doing it that allowed the demons to undo me. So now there's a third element, a third mistake. You know, it's usually the third mistake that gets you. A lot of times you can get away with one mistake. You can get away with two, but you do 3 mistakes in a row. And that's how tragedy happens, right? And so my third mistake was that one of my relationships, apart from this family, came under attack by the enemy, and there was conflict between us. So this witch comes to visit, along with some other people from the family, came here to visit us. And we had dinner together like we always do. Then they went back next door and outside on the deck to have their family time, which I stay out of. And I stayed in the house, and I just did what I normally do and pray, but I was only halfway praying. I was only halfway paying attention to keeping this witch corralled. My defenses were down, and I wasn't praying the protection prayer like I should. I wasn't focusing my energy on sending these angels to keep this person contained. And I was distracted by this other relationship and this other conflict. And that was the center of my focus. And I was kind of halfway praying, halfway involved in the protection of the place here. And in that moment, it left a hole open wide enough that out of nowhere, for no legitimate reason, this witch slapped little man in the face, backhanded him hard in the face, in front of everyone. I wasn't there, but in front of others who saw this. She had rings on her face, and it left scratches on his cheek. And as soon as they brought him over to my house and brought him in the bathroom to doctor his scratches, and there was this discussion going on, and I became aware that he'd been injured by this person, I scooped him up and I pulled the spiritual fire alarm. Yet another mistake, right? That when I pulled that spiritual fire alarm and said, Lord God, protect little man, and I put him in my arms, all the angels left their post and came to encircle me and little man in God's protection, which turned out to be great. But it allowed insanity to ensue over there. Because unbeknownst to me, members of the family that were in the bathroom, once I scooped little man up and took him into the living room and started feeding him cookies and talking sweet to him. So I told him, I said, you're not going to remember any of the things from tonight. You're only going to remember this is the night that Papa gave you all the cookies you wanted. Right? So everything about me was not just protecting him physically, spiritually, but also emotionally. And I pulled the spiritual fire alarm. And demons left over there, angels left over there, left those demons to run free, and came to, because I once again, you have control over these angels that God gives to protect you. And they're going to go where you tell them to. And out of Papa Bear instinct, I was like, Lord, protect us. And all hell broke loose over there because this group of other family were not okay with this slap on a baby. And instead of handling this in a mature way, they handled it in the old-fashioned redneck way. And they went over there to confront this person who, as soon as the accusation came out of the mouth of little man's mother, "Why did you hit my baby?" This witch flung herself at her, and a riot, a brawl, a many-person, 5 or 6 person deep fist fight broke out. And of course, at this point, I became aware of this. I witnessed part of this, and it looked like it was not even that it looked like it. It was clear to me and spiritually obvious to me that demons had leapt out of this girl and into everybody else. And they began to punch in one another, not even just one side against the other, but just like one of them old barroom brawls where everybody just starts punching everybody, even their own friends. And I locked them all out, and I called the police. And the net result is, because I called the police, because I involved the authorities, and for other reasons of their own personal reasons, just wanting to be more independent potentially, but within a couple of days of that event, they moved Little Man and Jazzy away with them 80 miles away from me. And it's not like they banned me from seeing him. It's really not even personal. It's just, it probably caused them to make that decision. And so, I offer you this story, not to demonize anyone, not to, not as anything more than a warning that when you're battling the devil, you better play it. It's better to be safe than sorry. Never invite a witch into your home until they've denounced witchcraft, they've denounced demons, and you're taking them through the deliverance process to deliver them from the demons. Because when you dabble in the occult, when you mess around in the supernatural realm from a non-godly perspective, you're inviting demons. Many of these rituals are conjuring demons into your life. And that girl was so eat up with demons that night. And the only way I got it to stop was I got little man's mama in the house with me at one point and had her watch the 2 children, and I went out and bound those spirits, and it started to calm down. But ultimately, the police told me I did the right thing, that I had an obligation to protect him from everyone. Because it was just anybody wanted to come in that house. I was like, no, this is a safe zone. Not until everybody calms down, not until I stop hearing the screaming coming from the yard. And, but, you know, God is at work in all things to the benefit of those who love God and are called according to His purpose. And as much as I loved Little Man, and as much as I've done great things for that family, it's been a 2-year-long distraction from what I'm here, from what I do for you on this channel. That many videos were postponed or canceled. My production schedule has been way lower than it used to be. And a great deal of that has to do with the great responsibility that I had with this family. I took them to all their doctor's appointments. They didn't have a car. I took them grocery shopping. I took them to the store. I was constantly doing for them. You know, Little Man, as much as I loved him, was under my feet a lot and a constant distraction. So it's back to this old man Sage in the cabin in the woods in his quiet solitude. And this is my fortress of solitude. And through this time period that I took off from the sheep pen videos, I've been getting deeper and closer with my relationship with the Lord. And I've learned a lot from this mistake. And I hope that you recognize that these preachers out here that make mistakes and then double down on stupid and deny they made mistakes are acting from, or have their pride on display. That I'm a humble enough man. And, you know, humility is everything when you're fighting the devil. But I'm a humble enough man to know that, to admit to you that I made a series of mistakes, and it could have been tragic. Someone could have been killed that night. That was the devil's intention. The devil's intention was to get on all of us, right? And he got on to everybody but me and Little Man. Everybody, even people I thought to be solid Christians that were in that group, succumbed to this demonic mass hysteria of anger and I mean, when someone you know to be a relatively calm person flies in your back door and says, I don't know what's going on, but I'm going to kill everyone, and they start punching holes in your wall, right? That's more than just a human emotion. And it was absolutely a night of a demonic onslaught. But when the smoke clears, I feel like that God is at work in all things to the benefit of those who love God and are called according to his purpose. And there was a purpose in all of that. And, God has, everyone says God's in control, but we have free will. So God has to have many contingency plans based on our haywire responses. God's one thing God doesn't know is what you're going to do next, right? That's just the truth of it. That's the price of free will. If it wasn't true, you wouldn't actually have free will, right? You'd be playing out a script. And so, this may not have been plan A, right? What happened? But God is at work in all things, and I can already see the benefit, the personal growth I've gone through, the benefit of explaining to you that even an accomplished 20-year veteran of devil fighting and exorcism can make a mistake, especially when they get overconfident and overprideful. I'm confident that God's got my back, but I can't make stupid mistakes either. I can't go around giving the devil a stick to beat me with. Mistake number 1, never invite a witch into your house, no matter how much you think you can do it. Because you can pull it off for a while, but eventually you're going to make a mistake, and they're going to be there to exploit it. Also, don't telegraph. I should have taught you the principle of what I was trying to explain without giving you that very specific example of how I was defeating a witch in real time. Because then that gave the devil the intel he needed, the demons the intel they needed to manifest on my demon-free zone home. I gotta tell you, this house is demon-free. When people come here to visit, the first thing they say is, it's so peaceful here. Wow, I feel so why do I feel so comfortable here? People come to visit me, they don't want to leave. You know why? It's a devil-free zone. And it got compromised, and it was because I thought I was tough enough to break one of the basic rules of devil fighting. Don't invite a witch into your home, right? Don't break bread with them. And the second mistake is don't telegraph your moves. When you're beating the devil, don't go around bragging about it and telling people how good you're doing, right? Keep that to yourself and keep kicking, keep punching the devil, keep fighting him. Don't let him know how you're doing it. Don't let him fake him out at every turn. It's, you know what, you have to fight deception with, not deception, but with obscurity, right? With vagueness, with mystery. And I revealed the mystery of how I was dealing with that witch on this channel. And that was the tool. And the other thing is never become distracted. Always stay focused. Especially if you're involved in a spiritual warfare moment. Always stay focused. Don't let the outside world or situations or friendships come into your mind when you're supposed to be doing your job of protecting and praying and building that hedge of thorns and ring of fire of God's protection around you and your loved ones. So I hope that you learned from this. I know that I learned from this. It is going to change some of my methodology in the future and the way I do things in this devil fighting process. And I want to thank all of you for being patient while I took the time to sort this out, because these answers didn't come to me right away. I knew I'd made a wrong turn, or the devil wouldn't have been able to do that to us. I knew I'd made a mistake somewhere, and it took me a while to prayerfully examine my actions, to decipher exactly how this Trojan horse got into my circle of protection and wreaked such havoc, and how, honestly, if God hadn't intervened, it could have been very much worse. The level of insanity there was murderous. There was a murderous rage loosed on these people that night. And
for real.
Yeah, I hope that you learned from it, and I want you to know that I'm making adjustments in how I approach things for the future, and it's affecting what I'm going to teach here on this channel. So stay tuned for future insights on fighting demons, on protecting yourself and your family, because we're coming into a time in the very near future. We're in the beginning of it now, where your only protection is going to be spiritual, that you are going to be trampled on by the devil if you don't have a strong defense, if you don't know who you are in Christ, if you don't operate in this stuff already. It's going to get so bad that people are going to beg for death, the Bible tells us, because it's going to be so horrific, the events that are coming to this earth. Many of you think you will be raptured out of it. I disagree on a theological level, on a doctrinal level. The dead in Christ shall rise first, the Bible says. So until that happens, there's no rapture. You're going to have to endure most, if not all, of what's coming. And those who are able to put on the full armor of God will be able to stand in that evil day. And that evil day is upon us. Put on the full armor of God. Don't be a victim. Be very strategic. Be very careful. Don't telegraph your moves. Don't ever drop your defenses, and never succumb to pride and arrogance. And I confess that to you. But I don't feel like little man's out of my life. I got to see him since then. I'll be back out there bearing gifts soon again. But, and I know that I had such a positive effect on him and his sister. And I literally saved both their lives in the physical realm. The baby twice and little man once. From choking. Right? I've become an expert at infant CPR and the Heimlich maneuver. So, at any rate, I hope you enjoyed this. Please pray for me. After this happened, during this period I've been down, I had 5 days of sickness, followed by 3 days of my back being out, followed by another day of sickness, and I've been in a constant battle. I'm under attack, right? All the powers of hell have come against me. And the good news is, like, I'm still standing, right? I'm standing in the middle of that evil day, and I need y'all to pray for me, put an end to this attack, so that I can be renewed and I can continue this very important work of teaching you how to defeat the works of the devil in the world today. And we never needed this knowledge more than we need it right now, because we are at the beginning of the end of time. I'm sure of it. I just don't know how far along we are or how much more we have to endure. But I will tell you, if you are not steadfastly grounded in spiritual reality and aligned with Christ, if you're dabbling in any way with the devil, playing footsie with the devil, agreeing with demons in any way, your life is going to become increasingly difficult. And this kind of teaching is going to eventually be seen as pure wisdom and gold. It's going to be seen as very valuable. Right now, people go, yeah, you wait till what's coming starts to unfold, and you're going to be begging for this information. You're going to be begging for God's mercy. You're going to be begging for any spiritual edge you can get, because the devil is on a rampage. And it's only going to get worse until Christ's return. I hope you enjoyed this sermon. Please remember to support this channel financially through the links in the description below. And we'll see you next time on the Sheep Pen.
Wow. Takes me back when I was a little bit more faithful. A little bit more competent too, really. Anyway, that was Sage Wanderer. I've been subscribed to him for a long time, but for a while there he made a lot of boring videos. Now he's getting more into the cool stories. So he says to pray for him. Joey the Gypsy. This guy lives out of his car. What is the Matrix and how do you escape it? That's interesting. Let's see his perspective on that.
All right. Let's talk about the Matrix and what it...
Pause to read. The Matrix is the physical world. It's how we are raised to perceive it. You have to realize that the people who control this world are purposely cheating and creating an illusion that convinces everyone that this is the only reality that exists, and when you die, you cease to exist. So you should put material gains and self-interest above all else. That is the Matrix.
What it actually is and how it works and how to beat it. how to escape from it.
It's designed to basically bring out the worst in everyone. Why do you think there is so much conflict and disharmony in this world? It's not natural, it's manufactured.
So,
yeah.
I did this video yesterday, but I didn't like it because
Why do they do this? It's their purpose. It's not about money. They have more money than you can imagine. They know money doesn't actually matter in the big scheme of things. What matters is that you do not let this illusion fool you into being something that you are not. Well, that goes into spiritual identifying yourself. Who do you claim to be in spirit, and what can you pull off? If you claim to be something, can you do it? You know, life's a challenge, and a spiritual challenge just as much.
I basically ended up just missing all my points. So,
if you want details, go to my Patreon, link in the description. Do not go to my Patreon if you plan on being disruptive, insulting, annoying. I'm always open to debate, civil debate, not open to bickering like an idiot.
Because I was thinking recently,
yeah.
I feel that I've kind of escaped the Matrix. And I was thinking, how did I do that? And how can I help others do it? So basically, really, so what is the Matrix? It's just like Morpheus said, it's a system of control. Now, the real tricky part is now, there was supposedly some document released through the Freedom of Information Act where the CIA admits that we are in a simulation, this whole thing is a hologram, and this and that. And honestly, I don't care either way if that's true. I gotta say, there were times in my life where I treated it like a simulation, like a game, like I was willing to take big risks. And one of the things that kind of helped motivate me to do that was that scene in The Matrix when he's trying to bend the spoon and the kid is like, you know, the first thing you got to realize is that there is no spoon. This, you know, that state of mind is how I brought myself to do things like doing stand-up comedy on the train in New York. It's so against my nature to put myself up and, you know, like just put myself in that position of being the center of attention on the subway where nobody wants to hear it anyway. Not an easy thing to do. I ended up figuring out how to make money doing it, but for me, that would be the equivalent of someone with a different set of fears, you know, going up and slapping a lion across the face. You know what I mean? It was so scary to me. It took me years to get up the courage to really do that. And that's after, you know, I failed at it a bunch of times before I actually succeeded and made some money with it. But that's not what this video is about. So, you know, I started kind of treating my life as like a game where I started kind of realizing that life doesn't have to be this tedious, you know, drudgery of just doing the same thing over and over for, you know, some menial task for some little bit of money. Another thing I started realizing was I was thinking to myself, like take Luke Skywalker, for instance. If he spent his life just working a regular job and staying on Tatooine, he wouldn't have been, you know, Luke Skywalker. Take Conan the Barbarian, for instance. And I'm not trying to encourage people to quit their jobs. I'm explaining my logic. I was thinking to myself, if Conan the Barbarian, because there were times when I was homeless and struggling and trying to reinsert myself into the Matrix, literally, it got so rough at times that I was like, I'm going back to just, you know, regular job, regular life. Fuck this shit. Fuck the excitement and adventure. I can't take it no more. But I would always end up kind of backing out and throwing myself back out there because in the back of my mind, I was fully aware that I didn't want to spend, because that, to me, that's short term, you know, that comfort and security of the regular job and the regular life, that only works for me in the short term. Once a couple of years go by, I'm so bored, I'm ready to throw it all out again. You know what I mean? And so, I was thinking to myself, if Conan the Barbarian lived like that, he wouldn't have had all the adventures and shit that he had. You know what I mean? So this was kind of my logic. And at the time when I was thinking like this, I had no idea. What I know now compared to what I know then, it's like comparing an ocean to a swimming pool. Once you experience things in life and you start seeing things, you really do start to feel like this is a fucking simulation or something, because I don't know how to explain it, bro. You would have to literally live my life to experience some of these things, but there were times in my life where I was like completely blown away by, like, is this whole thing even fucking real at this point? Like, what the fuck just happened? Like, I'll give you an example real quick. I've told this story before. I'm going to tell it again because this is one of the examples where I was like, what the fuck is actually going on out here, bro? So, and the timing of it was very interesting. So, there's a wasp all up in my face. He left. He sensed my hostility, and he was like, "Oh, fuck this place." All right, so when I was first homeless, I'll never forget the day, November 2nd, 2012, a day of infamy in the history of Joey the Gypsy. And then, in the beginning, wasn't that bad, wasn't fun, wasn't comfortable, wasn't, I didn't like it, but I knew what I had signed up for. So, I'd say, about a month later, so it's New Year's Eve, 2012. So, if you know anything about the Mayan calendar ends December 21st, 2012, and some believe that the world ended December 21st, 2012. I believe it. Go on my Patreon if you want details. So, the world ended as we knew it. December 21st, 2012. I believe it. Lots of people believe it. There's a lot of evidence. If you go on my Patreon, this is the kind of stuff that I talk about on Patreon. This video might end up being kind of a Patreon commercial, but here's the reality. I don't want everyone on my Patreon. There's a reason I put those videos on Patreon and not YouTube. I don't want the bullshit. I don't want to bicker in the, I'm open for debate. I'm always open for debate. I'm open for civil debate. I'm not open for insults and annoying, stupid fucking morons who I could never make them understand this shit. So this is why I don't put it on YouTube. There's multiple reasons I don't put it on YouTube. But, so anyways, it's, so now it's New Year's Eve, 2012. Shit. I'm thinking, well, the world is
3 Alpha Chronos.
I didn't care if it ended or not. It didn't make a difference to me. Or I was thinking, I wasn't even sure of the exact date back then. I had heard things about the Mayan calendar ending. I thought it ended on New Year's 2012. So I was thinking to myself, if the world's going to end, I'm going to go into Times Square and do my $1 joke thing. This way, at least it'll end. I was broke at this time, too. Shit was rough. It's the winter in New York. I'm telling jokes that I wrote on the street for $1 a piece. This is how I'm making money. This is how I'm making a living. I don't suggest trying it. Very hard way to make a living. And I was broke. And I'm out there working, fuck man, all day, sometimes late into the night. I ain't making much money. But I had set myself some guidelines when I was out on the street. I'm not going to take charity unless I have to. I'm only going to take whatever money I can earn performing whatever services that I can perform with my own God-given gifts and talents. And at this point, all I had conjured up was $1 one joke thing. So I'm I'm broke as shit. I'll never forget this day. New Year's Eve 2012. I'm sitting in Charlie's inside Penn Station just because it's warm. I'm saving my. Another major factor here is I didn't bring a winter coat out on the street when I was homeless. I had an Under Armour compression shirt. I had a fleece that my cousin gave me. And then I had my North Face hoodie, which was a nice, thick North Face hoodie. I was thinking that it was going to be enough to get me through the winter. I had no real experience in the cold at this point, except for when I was younger, living in New York as a kid. And to be honest, when I was a kid, the cold didn't bother me because I was running around the whole time. We were having snowball fights. We were running around. There were times in New York when I was a kid, it'd be 30-something degrees. We'd be in our T-shirts because we were running around and playing football and doing whatever. But when you're sitting still, it's a whole different story. So I didn't make that correlation until I was an adult in New York trying to do my $1 joke thing out on the street, and it's 35 degrees out, and I'm fucking freezing to death. I'd be out in Strawberry Fields doing my jokes. I would have to pack up all my shit because the cold was getting too much. I was getting like hypothermic. I'd have to pack up all my shit, walk up 73rd to Broadway, or maybe it was Columbus, and I'd go to the Starbucks in there. I'd go in the bathroom and I would just open my clothes up and get under the hand dryer, which was blowing warm air. That would warm me up real quick. Then I'd go back out for another couple of hours, and this is, that's how cold I was. Anyways, so I'm freezing the whole time. It's New Year's Eve. I'm in Charlie's under Penn Station. They got decent cheesesteaks. It's kind of a chain place. Anyways, I ate a sandwich. I had like no money. I spent like the last of my money on a sandwich, fries, and a drink. I eat my sandwich. I eat my fries. I'm just sitting there. Now I have an excuse to sit in there. I spent some money. They're not going to just tell me to leave. So I sit in there like all day because I don't want to freeze. And I want to save myself for tonight because it's New Year's Eve. I'm going to go into Times Square and I'm going to make a bunch of money. That's what I'm thinking. So I wait till about maybe 6 p.m., 7 p.m. I'm like, all right, I'm heading up to Times Square. I leave Penn Station. I walk up 8th Avenue. And I walk up 8th Avenue. Now, if you know New York City, Penn Station is on around 34th Street, and Times Square is pretty much directly north of it, starting around 42nd and going up to like 46th or so. Times Square is like this intersection where Broadway crosses, I think, 7th Avenue, or... Anyways, so I walk up 8th Avenue, and I get to the New York Times building. I think it's on 42nd or so, and I hit like a wall of people. Now, in order to get to the center of Times Square, you got to go from 8th Avenue across to like Broadway and 7th, and so I'm not even in Times Square. I get to like the outer rim of Times Square at 8th Avenue, and I think it was 42nd. You can Google where the New York Times building is. That's where I got to. I hit a wall of people, which means Times Square was packed that whole block. And, I could have went around, but I was like, man, I can't do the whole dollar joke thing here because all these people are just trying to get into Times Square. And it was literally like a wall of people for like a block. And I was just like, the whole fucking area is probably like this. I'm not getting into Times Square at this point. It's New Year's Eve 2012. And so I was like, this ain't going to work. I should have came out earlier. But it occurred to me, like, maybe if I go and set up between Times Square and Penn Station on 7th Avenue, then I'll be able to catch all the crowds going from Penn Station to Times Square and back and forth, you know what I mean? So that's what I did. I walked back towards Penn Station and then crossed over probably around 35th or 36th, I don't know, somewhere around there, maybe 30, I don't know. But I set up my sign on 7th Avenue and 35th, 36th Street. I set up my sign there, and I was doing good, actually. A lot of people were stopping. There was a lot of people in and out of Penn Station going back and forth between Times Square and Penn Station, and I was killing it, and I was making lots of money, and I was real happy. Hold on. Alright, so I I get to maybe 36th, 37th, and 7th Avenue, and I'm doing good, doing better than I have the whole time I was homeless. Lots of people stopping, lots of people laughing at my jokes. Money's going up, money's going good, and I'm real excited because I'm thinking the next few days I'm going to be able to eat and just ride the train. I don't got to walk everywhere. I'm going to have money. Things are going to be a lot easier for me for the next couple of days, and if I stay out here long enough, maybe the next couple of weeks. So I'm killing it. But the problem is I'm starting to freeze to death. And I'm thinking to myself, man, I can't go warm myself up and waste a half hour because that's going to cost me who knows how much. Like, I don't know when this crowd's going to end, or, I wanted to stay out there and keep making money, but I'm like turning blue. I'm shivering. I'm freezing. The next thing I know, I'm just about to fold it up and go in and warm up, and this is what I got to do. I'm not willing to freeze to death out here over a couple of bucks. So next thing I know, I do a joke or something, and then I look over on the sidewalk, and I shit you not, there's a winter coat sitting on the sidewalk, a black wool winter coat, and everyone's walking past it as if it's invisible. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on out here? I look at it, and I'm thinking, I need that coat, but I don't want to be looking like some scrub scraping shit up off the ground and putting it on. One of the thoughts I had, nowadays, if I needed a coat, I wouldn't hesitate for a second, but back then I was still trying to be like a normie type person, and I didn't want to be looked at as some sort of homeless bum who's scraping shit up off the ground. Anyways, I'm looking at this coat. I know I need it. Everyone's walking past it like it's invisible. And so finally I walk up and I pick up the coat, and I'm like, yo, whose coat is this? And everyone's walking past me like I'm invisible. I'm like, did someone drop their coat? And I look at it, some Italian label. It's a nice wool Italian winter coat, like overcoat. Not something I would ever buy or wear under normal circumstances, but these circumstances were not normal. And everyone's ignoring me. So I put the coat on, and all of a sudden I'm warm. And I'm able to stay out there and make a whole bunch of money. I made a couple of $100 that night. You got to realize, up until this point, there was a couple of days within the last few days where I made $4 all day. You know what I mean? So I was like, did God just fucking materialize a coat for, like, what the, I didn't know what the fuck just happened. And to this day, I couldn't tell you exactly what the fuck happened. I can tell you one thing. I needed a coat, and one appeared. And that coat ended up becoming a very valuable possession to me over the next month or so, until I saved up enough money and was able to take a day off and go back to Long Island to my cousin's house and get my winter coat. And then I gave that overcoat to this Japanese guy in Times Square who was selling comedy tickets, he was freezing his ass off every night. But when I'd be sleeping on the train, that coat was like my tent. I would just throw the whole thing over me. It's still cold in the train in New York in the winter when you're trying to sleep. So, I was checking the time on the video. I'm like, how is it? I thought I was talking longer than that. Now I realized I had to cut it short before. Anyways, so that was the first time where I started thinking to myself, things are not what they seem out here. Reality does not function the way I thought it does. So, I can't tell you exactly what happened, but I can tell you one thing. It changed my perspective, and I can tell you another thing. Throughout my years homeless and shit, more than once, things like that happened. So I'm not going to go through every one right now. I think I've got a video in my previous videos talking about miracles I witnessed firsthand, and I go into some of my experiences there. But, so, when that happened, I was thinking to myself, I don't know, bro. Someone up there is looking out for me. Number one. Number two, they are powerful enough to just fucking change things and make a fucking coat appear or something. Look, I'm not saying, look, maybe someone dropped their coat. That's probably the most likely scenario, and they didn't realize it and they walked on. But here's the thing. It was exactly what I needed at exactly the right time. You know what I mean? So there's no such thing as a coincidence, in my opinion. And so, you know what I mean? So when you experience things like that, you like, this is why, you know, do I believe in ghosts? Yeah, I do, actually. Have I ever seen one? No. But I do know from firsthand experience that there's plenty of shit going on out there that you would not fucking believe. You wouldn't even believe it if you saw it. You wouldn't even believe it if you experienced it. You know what I mean? So that's one example of when I really started realizing that this whole thing is kind of a big-ass game. You know what I mean? And if you're willing to take some risks and do some things, you might just experience some things that'll really have you questioning the whole previous existence you were clinging to. Let me tell you something. I wouldn't go back. If I could go back in time and just stay living a normal life, I would not do it. I wouldn't consider it for a fucking heartbeat. I'm grateful for all the things I experienced. So, alright, let me get back to the point of the video before I end up making another 45-minute video of just telling stories. So, how do you manipulate the Matrix? How do you escape the Matrix to where it's not fucking controlling you like a puppet anymore? You gotta realize what it is. It's a system of control. How does it control you? It uses your own subconscious against you. How does it do that? Well, I'll give you an example here. There's plenty of people out there, probably a bunch of people watching this video right now, who their perception of reality is not based on their experience and their knowledge. It's based on the movies and TV shows and news programs that they watch. Their perception of reality is constructed by the propaganda machine, for a lack of a better term, but Hollywood, the TV shows, the news media, these people, because their reality consists mostly of just going to work, coming home, eating, sleeping, shitting, going to work, coming home, eating, sleeping, shitting. So, you know, their perception of how the world actually works actually comes from the TV shows and movies they watch. Now, I'm not saying that everyone has that, but we all have it to one degree, to some degree or other. And you know, you don't realize how powerful movies and TV shows and news media are until you kind of break out of the whole thing. And so they slip these ideas in your head, like, oh, well, this is what the bad guys think, and this is the politicians who the bad guys like, and this is the politicians who the good guys like, and this is how the good guys think. And next thing you know, there's people letting their kids go to the doctor and get themselves mutilated. You know, this is how brainwashing works. You know what I mean? But, so, another example, and now, this is why I got to take notes, because this morning I had a bunch of examples in my head, and now I can't think of any of them. But what it comes down to is, here's the thing. Here's how to escape the Matrix. You got to make the unconscious, the subconscious, you got to make it conscious. You got to realize the thoughts that are going on in the back of your head. And one of the ways to do that is to always question your own intentions. Like, okay, I'm going to make this Facebook post. Why? What is my intention here? Is it a virtue signal? Is it to make everyone think that I'm cool? Or, you know what I mean? Another example would be like, so a lot of people, they will spend their whole professional lives, their whole working life, pretending to be something that they're not. They won't be themselves because they have to fit into this corporate structure. So they have to be this automaton that does everything corporate right and says everything that's going to advance their career, because subconsciously this is survival. They're trying to just obtain food and shelter and the things they need to survive. And in order to do that in the world that they're living in the reality that they're dealing with, they don't do it by going out and hunting and gathering. They do it by behaving in the office. And maybe going that extra mile, maybe typing that extra TPS report. Is that what it was in Office Space? The TPS report, which no one even knows what the hell they are or what they do with them. They just have to type up TPS reports. That movie's pretty funny. If you've never seen Office Space,
it is funny.
It's funny.
Even nowadays, it's funny.
But so, so basically what it comes down to is the Matrix, a lot of the time, is trying to keep you in a low vibration, in a survival vibration. Look, we live in a country full of resources, one of the richest countries in the world. You can grow food out of the ground for free. The earth provides everything we need here. We got oil, we got fucking gemstones, everything. The earth provides everything. And so, with mankind's intelligence, survival should never be an issue. Real quick on the whole prepping thing, I see a lot of preppers, you need to have 5 years worth of rice, you need 5 years worth of water, and yeah, okay, you can do that. You can build a fucking water tank that's going to hold 50 trillion gallons of water. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it is to realize that you can get it all off the land, bro. This is like, I am somewhat of a prepper, but I live in a fucking car. But I feel as prepped as anyone else. This cat's coming up to say hi. What's up, baby girl? Y'all want to see the cat real quick? This one's cool. This one tends to hang out with me sometimes. She's leaving. She's shy. Did y'all even see her? Where the fuck did she Hey! Man, y'all didn't even get to see the damn cat that hangs out with me, dude. She's slick, bro. She's a shy-ass cat. I can't even touch her, but she does hang out near me quite a bit. So what the fuck was I saying before the cat came up, interrupted me? So yeah, you can get it off the land, bro. Like, I'm not worried about having 50 trillion gallons of water strapped to the roof of my car. I got a fucking water filter. I can go get water up out the mud. You know what I mean? So, before I get too far off subject, now, we're talking about the subconscious mind controlling you like a puppet. And who controls the subconscious mind? Well, let's just say the enemy does. Go on my Patreon for details. But the way to break free is become conscious of your subconscious thoughts. Don't just go around like an automaton doing whatever your subconscious says. You gotta, because this is why a lot of people feel depressed and anxiety and this and that, because they're not being their true self. They are being what the Matrix is telling them to be. They're being pulled on a string like a fucking puppet. And some people are so fucking programmed, you can't even get through to them. When I'm there's certain people who I know, I've known them since I was a kid. Hopefully, people I know who are watching this are going to be like, "See, talking about me?" No, probably not. But I know people who I can't even get through to them. They're so programmed that they wouldn't even understand what I was saying. They would probably just agree with it, and it would just bounce off their head, and they would go back to being a hypnotized puppet. But so, how do you break free? You break free by first of all realizing it's your subconscious mind that's telling you these things. Like, for instance, I realized at the time, this was a harsh truth. This was a truth I didn't want to face. But in order to break free of the matrix, you got to face some ugly truths. And here's one of the first ones that hit me right between the eyes. So, the whole time I was laying inside, I was making good money, but I felt very unfulfilled. I didn't know the answer. I didn't know how to figure it out. I felt I was wasting my life. Deep down, I felt I was wasting my life. Now, had I gotten on some sort of meds or something, that feeling probably would have went away. But I didn't get on any meds. The hurricanes came through and took us out of business before I needed any fucking meds to stomach my world anyways. And after a while, after losing a bunch of jobs through, circumstances I really couldn't control, I started to realize I'm living under this pressure, this constant threat of poverty and homelessness, and I'm tired of it. It was the subconscious became conscious at that point. I got sick of it. I got sick of being afraid. I got sick of living my life under all this stress. I got sick of having to change apartments because the rent kept going up, but my pay wasn't going up, so I'd have to move to some cheaper apartment every couple of years. I got to fucking pack up everything I own and coerce people I know to help me move my shit. I was like, I'm not spending the rest of my life like this. The subconscious became conscious. I realized it was this fear of fucking little dumbass bug just flew into my mouth. I realized I was living my life with this subconscious proverbial gun to my head of fear of homelessness and poverty and this and that. And once I realized how much control and power it had over me, I decided I'm not living like this no more. Fuck them. But fuck this whole thing. I'm not playing along no more. Do you worst. I'll go be homeless. I don't care what happens. And that's pretty much what I did, and that's pretty much what happened. So, do I suggest everyone just quits everything and goes and become homeless? No, I don't suggest that. I think being homeless is too much for probably most people, but not everyone. You're never going to face anything in this life that you can't handle. So, if you're facing homelessness, you got to realize you're one of the people who can handle it. Otherwise, it wouldn't have come your way. It's nature. Go on my Patreon if you want details. But the thing with me is I am a ridiculously resourceful and efficient person, and the challenges of being homeless are almost tailor-made for someone like me, because I can figure out my way out of. I figured out my way out of every single thing homelessness threw at me. Was it easy? No. But I guess the point of this video is you got to escape the matrix. You don't have to. You can spend your whole life in it. But it's better if you do. And you can still play along with it. It's just you got to realize that it's bullshit. You know what I mean? Basically what it comes down to is stop letting your subconscious mind run you around like a fucking puppet, like a chicken with its head cut off. But make the unconscious conscious. Another quick example. I used to, and I heard someone else bring up this example. It was one of those philosopher types. I forget who it was. Alan Watts type. I wish I could say his name, because he makes a really good point in it, and he deserves credit for it, but I can't think of his name. So here's an example of the subconscious mind making you act a fool, kind of. So I'd be in the grocery store and I'd get so annoyed and angry at people for like going slow down the aisle or blocking the aisle with their cart. It's such a stupid thing to be upset about. But another thing I started realizing was a lot of people in the grocery store feel the exact same way. They're all angry. They're all ready to fucking snap. And it's like, why? Why is that? It comes down to fear and anxiety, really. It's the subconscious fears and anxieties that most people in modern Western worlds are just living with. Unless they get so disgusted by it, they end up on some sort of medication which doesn't solve anything. It doesn't cure anything. It makes you not notice the issues that are going on within your mind. You know what I mean? So, do I believe in a chemical imbalance? No, I don't believe that for a fucking second. I think whatever doctor came up with that is probably they should be fucking locked up somewhere, because they've done a lot of damage with that little bullshit fucking of philosophy where people think, oh, it's I'm the problem. It's my brain was just made wrong. Now I just need to take some fucking pills and drugs and that'll make my brain right. Like, how fucking insane is your society when that's the answer? The doctors who come up with this shit, they deserve to be fucking locked in a cage, in my opinion, and feed them the fucking drugs that they're getting rich off selling. Anyways, so hopefully this video makes sense. Hopefully I got my point across. If you really want to know how to escape the Matrix, you got to really understand it from the ground up, and that's what I do on Patreon. But here's the thing: if you're gonna go to my Patreon and you're gonna be fucking annoying, don't go. I don't want you there. So, but you can debate with me in a civil way. But if you're gonna be pissing me off and annoying me and upsetting me and in my inbox 5 times a day, I don't want your money. And I don't want your attention, and I don't want nothing to do with you. So, but here's the other thing. Look, I'm always open to everyone, so because I've been having issues with someone on Patreon. Here's the thing. You're still welcome there. Just watch the videos, ask questions, be polite, be civil, and that's fine. Just don't keep being insulting and annoying and disruptive. You know what I'm saying? Because there's other people on my Patreon who are there to learn. So we don't need you insulting everyone and accusing everyone of whatever the fuck you're accusing everyone of. Just be civil. You know what I mean? And you're welcome to watch the videos and learn from them, and hopefully they can help you out, because I believe they really can. So, anyways, let's see how long this video is when I put the two together, because I had to interrupt it. But yeah, appreciate every single one of y'all. Thanks for the subs, likes, comments, tips, and thanks to the people who insult me. You're teaching me how to be more patient and less explosive, and I actually do appreciate that. So, appreciate y'all. I'll see you on the next one. Everybody have a good one.
Yeah. What he's getting at, guys, is what he's saying is that programming is subconscious because of the media and various other cultural, psychological operations, influences, things that were taught since we're kids in school, basic stuff like that, programming. The programming is occurring subconsciously and therefore eventually manifests consciously. So in other words, you're given, it's like hypnotic suggestion. They suggest to your subconscious something, and then when you wake up, your conscious part of you tends to want to do that. Unfortunately, that's the way it is. So he doesn't. He would prefer that you not allow yourself to be so easily programmed by various factors like that. Man, I'm not finding anything. I was looking for a Daedon. I need a male Daedon. I need looking for raptors. I know raptors are usually on the beach here. Such shit levels. Oh boy. Anyway, the point is that he's realized, because that's why he has a Patreon, so he can explain why this quote-unquote matrix is bullshit. And what happens is they just get a hold of your subconscious, influence the subconscious very subtly, and then eventually you manifest that by your own power. You know, it's like when you watch too much porn, or you watch too much horror movies, you watch too much violence, you watch too much this or that. Eventually, you'll become violent. You'll start reacting, and being a garbage in, garbage out. Remember that computer term, garbage in, garbage out? That's what it'll be. See, the demon that took me, the energetic thing, it only took me because it was a vulnerability, and it was medically related because of the high blood sugar. That shit was driving me nuts. And I was unregulated at the time, which was really bad. But, yeah, I mean, those things do happen. He doesn't believe that in chemical imbalances, but the sugar acts like a chemical imbalance. It's not as bad as an actual chemical imbalance. It's not as bad at all compared to that shit. I've talked to guys that have that. Oh, man, they're screwed. They are so screwed. Even if they take medication, they're kind of screwed. Looking for a good Daedon. Tried to grab that guy. Damn it. No. Oh, there we go. Got a 200. All right. That's something. Oh, 136. Yeah, I want to go get a fucking wyvern egg so I can have a couple of wyverns and I can pick those guys up and dump them wherever I need to dump them. I don't know. Oh yeah, I forgot I put all my taming equipment here. Shit, I forgot I put it all on here. No, I'm not going to have the time to tame him. Let's do this. Shit. Let's drop him. Let him cool off a bit. Oh shit, are you making it up here? Oh shit, you are making it up here. Why ain't you the coolest thing ever? See, I don't want him to drop my bird all the way down that I'm stuck up here. It's not a good isolated place. Shit. Might be a little piece of land here I can put him on. This one shouldn't be too tough. The thing is, mastering yourself includes mastering your subconscious because it's part of you. Okay? And there, you may find people that don't even believe there's a real subconscious. Yes, despite all the evidence, they'll just say, no, that can't be. You know, all kinds of shit can happen. Oh, he took off. Thinks he's going to get away from me, huh? Is he in a hole? Where'd he fall down to? Oh, there he is. Oh, that's not him. That's a wolf. That's the wolf that was right there. It was a wild wolf. Okay, I think it got away because once it gets out of visual sight, sometimes it disappears. I mean, I could be wrong about that. I mean, that's not something that I would consider unusual. Okay, well, I need a Daedon. Delayed reaction cost me the thing. Ah, that's not what I need. Yeah, that's that wolf. So that guy got away. Shit. I was so sure. Now, there's creatures that can jump up out of the ground and try to get you, so I'm trying to avoid that, but I don't know, we'll see. Maybe a good Daedon. It's a piggy. Oh, it's just a 32. I'm looking for a good high-level pig. I have a high-level female. I need a high-level male, really. Female Megatherium 1 through 52. Yeah, it's easier just to drop down, pick that up, and then take it into a trap. That's what I used to do with a wyvern, but I would have to go to Scorched Earth to get wyvern. As far as I know, maybe they changed that. Man, there's not a lot of stuff on here. I thought there'd be more, but I guess not. What is that? What the hell? Oh, this little fucker. What is this? Female Daedon. Oh, she's under there. Ah, it's a pretty one, but it's only 64. I don't need a pretty 64. I need a 240. Looking for a 240, two something big, something good. Shit. I wish I could look at the map and see where all the teleporters are. Oh. Yeah, I mean, you could deprogram yourself. The thing is, you can't really change certain things about yourself without great difficulty. If people are willing to put the work in there, theoretically they can. And that's what I do every day. Every day I try to accomplish certain goals. Even if I don't feel up to it, if I could do 2 or 3 things, on my list of stuff to do, I consider myself completely victorious, really. And especially if it's a complicated shit, then I know I'm doing good. Let's go back this way. I'm glad I was able to get a little bit of oil. Damn, that rock looks like one of those guys that jumps on you. That's why when you go to the snowy area, sometimes it's a trap. You go down to try to grab something, and something grabs you instead. You have to be careful. Alright, I'm running low on stam. Ooh, that's a 208. See, if I had my wyvern, I can pick up that 208 and take it to a trap. But I don't. Yeah. Alright, guys. It's already been an hour and 29 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and call it. I'm glad you guys were watching. And there's Joey the Gypsy's video. It's called What is the Matrix and How Do You Escape It? It's to him it sounds like he's making it seem like it's just a head trick. But the thing is, it's just a taste of the way things are. But anyway, thank you for watching. I'm going to go ahead and go back here and take off. Have a good day or night. Bye-bye.